Okay, so we have been doing for the last few weeks connections with these books, right? You remember? So remember the hearing book? We had some connections on the things that we hear around us that they talked about in the book. And in A Good Night's Sleep, we had good connections of what it looks like when we don't get a good night's sleep and how we feel when we don't get a good night's sleep. And the dinosaur babies, you guys did really good connections of animals that you've seen that have the same type of, they have nests and the same type of mom, and they live in herds. So you guys are becoming really good experts at making connections. So today, what I wanted to do was I wanted you to be able to make connections with your own books that you're reading in your independent time. Because these books, I helped you make connections with, but with your books, you guys are going to be able to make your own connections. And I wanted you to see one place that everybody has. What's this? So what's this? That everybody has. Our Reading Goals book. Yeah. And this is somewhere that you guys make text-to-self connections every day. Because you guys write what the text says on this side, and then you write your thoughts on this side. So that is a text-to-self connection that you do every day. So I just wanted to review something that good readers do. And the first thing that good readers do, actually I'm going to switch this back to this thing. I just want to make sure everyone can see though, is, so one thing they do is we make text to self connections. So that's one thing that good readers do. And who has an idea of some of the things that make a good text-to-self connection? So what is a text-to-self connection? Who can tell me? Everyone should know. We've been doing it. Yeah. So see, Skylar, what's a text-to-self connection?
Text-to-self connection is something you have a connection with.
So where are you getting this connection? Madeline? Yeah. So it's something that when you're reading your book, it's something that reminds you of something that happens, or something that tells about something similar that happens, or tells about a time. This is one that we didn't really work on that much, but this tells a time that when one of your characters, maybe they have a feeling or something happens to them, and you've had a similar feeling or a similar event in your life. So maybe something happened and your character was sad because they dropped their ice cream, and you made a text-to-self connection because one time you did the same thing and it made you upset. So that's another way to make a text-to-self connection. So today, I want you to look at, so everybody just don't pick up your books, just look at your books. Look at your books. Just think about all the words that are in your books, all the texts. You're not touching your books yet. You're just looking at them. You're just thinking, you're doing a retelling of all the information that you've already done, or all the reading you've already done in that book in your head. And I want you to think of one text-to-self connection that you have made in your book. Just keep it in your head. Just think of one text-to-self connection that you've made with your book. It could be something that you've seen before. It could be something that's happened to you before, something that you've read about in another book, a feeling that you have. I want you to turn, and when you have it, turn and tell your neighbor that feeling, or that text to self connection.
Fly this kite, and I remember when I was at my grandma's house and I went to I had a connection to this book.
That's a good text to self connection.
I have a connection to this book. This book has a girl, and she said I had to. It made me think about when I went to the Pacific Science Center and I saw one of the
That's a really good text to self connection.
Like going sledding, and I've never been sledding, so it was just
How about you guys? Did you guys have any good text to self connection?
So I survived this, having
So they both invented something that's for exercise too, didn't they? That's a good text to self connection.
Here's the crazy thing. When my grandpa's break she was tight, and that was down that grandpa's house, and I fixed it. And guess what?
Or something you have.
Because he's usually so he can get something a lot. But I remember when what if sometimes he was and people still does it? It's terrible. What happened at 8 o'clock?
Okay, class.
Yes.
So I would like to hear some of your text to self connections. Oh, class.
Yes.
So I would like to hear some of your text to self connections that you had with your own books. Keeleen, what's one you've had?
My self-connection is that Genevieve Jones hates clowns and I hate clowns too.
So that's kind of a feeling that you're kind of scared of them, right? Yeah. Sometimes they're scary to me too. Madeline, how about you?
In this mirror, there's a cat in the picture. And someone is on the picture.
So that's a good text to self connection. I like that one. How about you, Miranda?
When Lanny saw a snake in this book,
Mhm.
it reminded me of when I was riding my bike. I saw a gardener snake wiggle out of the path.
So that's something that happened to you? Oh, did that happen to other people too? Samantha, how about you?
The book said I had turned into a mermaid. It made me think of me at the Pacific Science Center, and I saw a wooden mermaid on a ship.
Oh, she saw a mermaid on a ship. So is it like on the front of the ship?
A famous.
Yeah, it's like the.
She did say
Owen, how about
when
hold on, Owen. I don't think everybody's giving you the respect. Ask Owen, it's Owen's turn to speak. Thank you.
When Benjamin Franklin invented the candle, it reminded me of how your grandpa invented something.
Oh, he invented something. So he has a connection from somebody, from another story that he heard. So he heard the story, you heard the story of how your grandpa invented something? And that made him remember the story of Benjamin Franklin inventing something, reminded him of the story that he had heard before. So everybody keep those text-to-self connections in your head, because you're all gonna get a chance to write them down. But I just want you really quickly write down a few of these different ways that we can make text-to-self connections, so that when you're reading, you can if you like, I want to make a text-to-self connection today for my reading journal, but I just can't remember what is a good way to make a text-to-self connection. So what were some of the ways that does anybody remember some of the ways that I said that you can make a text-to-self connection? Feeling?
About feelings.
About feelings. So you can make a text-to-self connection about feelings. Jackson, what's another one you can do?
What you've seen.
What you've seen. What's another good way you can make a text-to-self connection? Tatiana?
What big readers do is they tell stories about something that's true or more exciting than anything other.
So they, about stories from a story. So is story, oh, I already used this color. From so what about, what if something similar happened to you? Is that a good way to make a text-to-self connection? Who thinks that's a good way to make a text-to-self connection? Yeah, so maybe a similar story. Anybody else have a good way? Let's have Jordy.
Wait.
Another way that you can make a text-to-self connection. Okay. Sorry. Noe?
Something that you've done.
Something you've done, so kind of like a similar story, something you've done. Yeah, so does anybody else have any new ones? So Skylar and Owen and Jackson. So Skylar, Owen, Jackson. You forgot? Okay. If you think of it, let me know. Owen?
What happened to you?
So what happened to you? So similar story. Yeah, so
What you might hear?
what you might hear. Yeah. Do you remember it, Sky? What was it?
What you have done?
What you've done. Yeah, so what you've heard and what you've done. So I'll write both of those down. Pretty hard to write. And what you have done. So I am going to hang this up so that everybody can see it. And as you're reading today, I want you guys to fill out another one of these with your own reading. So during your silent reading time, if you're reading and you're like, oh, that reminds me of a time that blank happened. Or I've had that feeling, that same feeling when blank happened. I want you to write down what the text said. And then I want you to write down your text-to-self connection right here. Everybody see that? Everybody's eyes up here? So you write what the book said up here, just like last time, and then you write what it reminded you, your text-to-self connection down here. Griffin, you have a question?
Well, yes, I wasn't here when that happened.
Okay, well, so then what you're gonna do is you're gonna write the text, what you read up here, and then how your text to self connection down here, okay? So I will pass these out, and during the second round of silent reading, let's see if we can all make a good text to self connection, okay? From our own books.